What's up, guys? I'm Matt from Planet Politico, and my first video today is going to be about some good news on the fight against ISIS and what this means going forward. What you just saw were scenes of happiness in Iraq as the people learned of Mosul's liberation from ISIS after 3 brutal years of occupation. The Iraqi Prime Minister, Haider al-Abadi, was in Mosul to confirm the victory, where he said, quote, "I announce from here the end and the failure and the collapse of the terrorist state of falsehood and terrorism which the terrorist Daesh announced from Mosul." Now, the fight for Mosul has taken a pretty long time because it has apparently not been a block-by-block fight, but a meter-by-meter one. See, ISIS is tricky. They don't use typical fighting tactics. They use car bombs, IEDs, human shields, and blend in with civilians quite well. They do it to maximize not only damage to soldiers, but normal people. So, why is this important? Well, there are a few reasons, but the first being the saving of the civilians. They've been living in hell under brutal ISIS rule where there was no way to get info from the outside and nobody was technically allowed to leave. Not to mention they were forced to live under ISIS laws and unwillingly help further their caliphate project. Just an example of this is a civilian story from Mosul, and there are thousands of these, but the Sunday Morning Herald went to a camp outside Mosul for residents who either fled or became displaced once the fighting began. They spoke to this 10-year-old boy among others.
شوليت من جدي جاي على المدرسة شو الجو هذول الداعش الله لا يموتون جاوين هذا سكينة يريد يذبحون هذا وليد ذبحوه مات
ليش رادوا يذبحوه؟
غش.
Now, I know that's a sad story, and I bring this up not because it's sad, but because I think it's important to be reminded of what these people went through when we go forward in Iraq. As people do begin to return to their homes, and it hasn't happened in any big waves yet, the Iraqi government and U.S. coalition need to continue to work in Mosul to safely rehabilitate the city. I can't imagine the trauma some of these people are going through, and if you want to talk about PTSD, how about seeing your children executed? The United States has made some big mistakes last time they tried to help rebuild Iraq, and I hope they learned their lesson, because this time we can't afford to get it wrong. Now, another reason this victory is important is because of what it represents for the regional fight against ISIS. The famous Al-Nouri Mosque is where now former leader of ISIS, al-Baghdadi, declared the caliphate. And although ISIS unfortunately destroyed it during the fighting, this victory symbolizes the further dissolution of that caliphate, and it does harm ISIS's ability to attract more people to its cause. To put it plainly, no one wants to fight for a losing side. So then, another important question to ask is, how is ISIS reacting to the loss? Well, according to Rita Katz, who is a terrorist analyst and co-founder of the Search for International Terrorist Entities, or SITE, wrote on her website that ISIS is downplaying the loss on ground by saying their soldiers are making epics and will fight until victory or martyrdom. Remember, for all we know, ISIS is currently without leadership. Not that it necessarily matters, they've changed leaders before and survived, similar to Al-Qaeda. We know we're fighting this jihadist ideology, but losing their most populous city, and losing their leader, and now they're surrounded and slowly losing in Raqqa, it's looking pretty bleak. And so because of that, I want to shift your guys' attention over to Raqqa to show you that it's currently under siege. But first, take a look at the map of ISIS-held territory. Now, it looks like a lot, but most of it's open desert with a few civilian hotspots. They're actually being squeezed in the west by Assad and his forces, who are sweeping across the Shire gas fields, which they lost early on in the Syrian civil war. So here's Raqqa. And here we see SDF forces actually have the area surrounded, and they've reportedly begun taking neighborhoods in the southwest. It's only a matter of time before Raqqa falls. Of course, this is going to be similar to Mosul though, and that we should expect heavy loss of civilian life. This is a winner-take-all for the Caliphate project, really. This is ISIS's eggs in one basket. If ISIS loses Raqqa, then they're no longer the quasi-state terror group. Then they're just a terror group. And that shouldn't be underestimated. We know that ISIS has been telling its supporters for a while now to stay in their home countries. This is because ISIS leadership knows they can't hold on forever. And as soon as they lose Raqqa, they're going to start to lash out across the world in a big way. So we need to be resilient and realize that the war against ISIS, which is really a war against their ideology, is far from over.